the actual film award night, the film entries were then shortlisted, and nominated films were then invited to a film awards ceremony to celebrate their work. Okay, I'm just going to try and work out how I can move on to the next page. Got any PowerPoint specialists in here? Oh. Ah, we found the arrows. They disappear when you need them. And the whole awards evening was put together by a team of volunteers and school staff. And actually, it didn't look too bad on the night.
Absolutely brilliant.
Thank you. The limousines were funded either through the PTAs and the parents, with the parents as well, helping to pay for the limousines, get the nominated filmmakers there. And it was a fab evening of paparazzi reception when they came out of the limos. And we have the key speakers and the awards. And then there are the prizes. The last year was, for example, the Points West studio tour was fantastic, an experience of a lifetime where they use all the professional equipment and make a news programme and bulletins and go behind the scenes and find out about how things like colour separation overlay works. Or the vision mixing desk, and actually pretend to get a chance to direct in the studio. Outcome, yes. Actually, Sue let me know about this. I don't know if you want to say, rather than reading a boring still.
Yeah, I sent my film to a friend of mine who works at Taunton County Council. She works for the early years training team. She showed the film to her bosses and said, look what young people can do if you give them the money and the resources. And then a few months later, I was asked, would I provide a training day for 22 playgroup leaders, because the council had got a budget of £12,000 together, which would mean that 22 groups would receive a small laptop and a film camera so that they could go back to their clubs and start doing animations and films with their children, which was unexpected but totally related and wouldn't have happened without the Street and Glastonbury Film Award. I sound like I'm part of the organisation, but I'm really not. I was just somebody who received the letter saying, do you want to enter the Film Awards? And then this has sort of happened off the back of it. So, and since I've met Marianne this year, but yeah, I sound like I'm part of it, but I'm not.
That's fantastic news,
though. Great outcome.
Absolutely.
And so I sent this year's film and said, oh look, we won again.
Yes.
see what happens this year. But, yeah, it was fantastic. So you can only hope that at least 200, 300 other children will get a chance to use some equipment. It's just phenomenal, wonderful.
And we'd like to extend the area, also at the moment it's the CLP area of Street in Somerset. We would like to try and involve neighbouring CLP areas with more films, more schools entering, which will obviously require more funding.
We're going to try and get Mike Levis involved, aren't we?
Absolutely, we are, definitely. So I think that would be, we're thinking of getting a skilled team together of teachers that specialise in filmmaking and media club tutors to go around the schools and do some training days. So that's what we're looking at in the future. Does anyone have any questions? Hi, Henry, isn't it?
So if you're making these films with the children, don't be surprised when you see that one of the children that you've worked with to do your films on the credits of a major film.
Absolutely.
Do not be surprised.
I will not be surprised.
I think this lad's going places.
It's definitely going places. There's so much talent out there, absolutely. And in fact, that's what the Wells Film Centre said before showing one of the films, that there's a lot of talent out there.
Can I
So
just chip in there?
Yeah.
Because in Wales, there was a student, my son's age, called Edgar Wright, and they made the film in Wales. I can't think what it was called now.
Hot Fuzz.
Hot Fuzz.
He is it Sean Pegg or somebody? Pegg? They were mates, and he started just like you people, and now he's in Hollywood, international,
Fantastic.
you know, internationally famous. So, and that all came from one teacher like you at the Blue School, having a passion to introduce this. But the question I'd like to ask really is, this is great because we all love films, but you know, when you're in school, can you persuade people that it's worth putting this into the curriculum as a part of the curriculum? Because to me, it's really important. It brings in all sorts of skills.
I think it's coming. I think it's definitely coming. We're out there to try and make that happen.
Yeah.
Definitely. The storytelling, well, it is part of the learning process. It would be, and in fact, the films towards this are made during school time.
Right, because it's so much more exciting, isn't it? Than sitting
absolutely.
there getting a PowerPoint from the teacher.
And it appeals to students in a different way. Certain students in a different way. You know, you can get some more.
I've got to say that I'm really happy to see that like kids your age are actually getting to do this, you know. Because like when I was younger, I would have, you know, I'd have done anything to get my hands on a camera and start making films that young. I mean, it was only the engine room and stuff like this that actually gave me the opportunity to really get involved and actually get my hands on the kit, being able to make films. So like you said, I think it's a really important thing that we get this into the curriculum somewhere along the lines. I mean, we're bombarded by media 24/7.
Yeah. There's so much more available as well to the school children. I mean, there's a lot more free software for 3D animation we can use. There's now Schools Tube, so that they can put that on the Schools Tube, so it's a lot easier. And actually, they're very media savvy already, so
I was going to say,
they know it all already. So it's like,
I'd have loved to have been able to do that with my Lego when I was back then, making moon rockets and all that. That's incredible stuff.
I'd love to do that as well.
I still can't do it now, and I've been practicing it for years.
Off, though, if you hadn't
I'm just saying.
I was cracking the whip.
But they definitely seem to have already a lot of media literacy and knowledge that I wouldn't have.
Can I just say, the reason that I was approached to sort of make a film for the Film Awards was the school had done a project where they were getting a few students to explore Wind in the Willows, but they were doing it via animation. So it was part of a literacy project.
Yes.
So I got involved with that, and that was a great success. So what you're saying about being introduced into the curriculum, I think there's plenty of room for that. The only problem is, as ever, is time and money. And this is why Marianne and myself, we're both volunteers.
Yeah.
So what it really needs is a bit of enthusiasm and a bit of sort of spreading our skills, whatever they are actually, because me and you work in such a different way, but both very valid. And I think that's the important thing. I think anybody could do it. It doesn't matter what your approach. You might not be meticulous.
No.
You might not be media savvy necessarily, but it does not mean that you can't put your ideas down, especially you lot. You can put them down exactly how you want.
They have access in their imagination. Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
Thank you very much, Marion. That's really fascinating and introduced us and really widened our thinking in terms of an approach, because we've, without going into a lot of detail about how we work here, it's been come at it from a very different kind of starting point as filmmakers and kind of from a filmmaking background, really coming into education and seeing how we can engage. And clearly you've got a very successful model there that's working, and all power to you, and thank you very much for showing us. Let's give her a round of applause. As well for your contribution. We've had a series of films made called Hello, Can You Hear Us? Do you want to just comment on that, Mike?
Yes, we're similar to you in Screen Masters. It's Bridgewater Sedgemoor Learning Alliance, so it's South Sedgemoor, and it takes schools from Netherstowey to Woolhampton and Puriton, and the Bridgewater town schools, of which Westover Green is one of them, and all the secondary schools and the college. So it's a really good learning alliance, and we've been fortunate in attracting lots and lots of funding for various reasons, but one was through Give It a Go, which is funding which is targeted towards children who are economically disadvantaged. And it's been a huge opportunity to work with the Engine Room, because you've got some of the key filmmakers with that knowledge, and taking that process to schools. I mean, I think Near is very lucky to have people like you there, and likewise Westover Green with Chris. But not all schools have that, and they don't have that enthusiasm necessarily. So we've used this to take films to schools and invited children to make films exactly as you've described, and it's been hugely successful. We had one, there's all sorts of funding out there, by the way. One is Awards for All, and we worked with the Town Council in Bridgewater, and we did Our Town, Our Village, which was great, and children could talk about what it was like living in Cwmich on the Sturt Peninsula, or living in Westover Green, town Fair Moor, all from their perspective. And then we want to continue, and our next project is a radio project, well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is indeed. We delved into radio this year. We ran Highbridge Family Radio through Kirsty's project, Family Connections, and we all had a great time with that and got a very high level of engagement. We got a short-term FM licence, so you could hear the radio you could just hear it on your radio at home. And we bought a load of very, very cheap transistor radios and gave them to families to have picnics and listen to the station. And we had a studio in a shop on the high street in Highbridge, so it was very, very accessible, and it was a great thing to do. And we're hoping to do something a little bit similar with schools in Sedgemoor. We are going to do something with schools in Sedgemoor called We Make Radio, which is going to run in March and use the new YMCA studio over by the canal. So we've kind of veered into radio now as well, which is a lovely thing to be doing. Thank you to everybody that's contributed this morning, and I hope it's been a useful insight into some of the work that's going on in Somerset. And there's a lot more besides, and there's a lot of places it can all go. I think trying to get it integrated into the curriculum, as Mike was asking about, feels to me like the way, has to be the way forward. And if the kind of initiatives like the Street and Glastonbury thing continue to happen in the way that they are, I'm sure we'll get there eventually. So thank you very much all for coming. And the next session is going to start in about a quarter of an hour, and it's about the Young People's Film Council. So please do stay and hear about the work of the YPFC.
Just let you know, we're getting this is being streamed live on the internet. And we've had some texting, we're being watched in London, and who knows where else, so people are watching this live, so I saw your films earlier.
Yes, the audience is much bigger than it seems.
The audience is coming in as well.
Thanks, I'm glad you didn't tell me that.
I think that